Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday word. Thank you so much for joining me this Wednesday. As you can see, I'm not at home. I'm in a different place somewhere across the world. But I wanted to make sure that I did take this time to give you this Wednesday word that God has been speaking to me. And it actually came from a place when I was on my Peloton, and one of the instructors said something, and it just resonated within my spirit from some things that I've just experienced in my life. But at the same point, just a moment of encouragement that I think that we all need to be able to have. And so today's message is going to come from Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. And I'm going to be paraphrasing because I don't remember scripture as far as like word for word like that. But I'm going to do my best to remember to recite it for you. But the book of Zechariah, chapter 4, verse 10, it says, "Do not despise these small beginnings, for the Lord rejoices to see the start and the plumb line in Zerubbabel's hand." And so what does that mean, and what is a plumb line? And so just kind of giving you a bit of background story. And so Zerubbabel, he was a Babylonian Jew, meaning that he and his family were in exile, and he came to a point under the authority of the Persian Empire where he had received permission to go back and to build the temple in Israel that had been destroyed. And so this particular point of reference in scripture is saying that do not despise the small beginnings, because Zerubbabel, he had this plumb line. And what a plumb line was, it was a tool, it was an instrument that to be able to level set, it was like a string, and it had like a little conical measurement at the end. But it set what a vertical line was. And so that was the beginning part of rebuilding the temple that God would inhabit, the temple that had been destroyed previously through occupation and as the Israelites were taken from their homes. And so with this particular scripture, it shows us and it tells us that do not despise the small beginnings, because Zerubbabel was given the charge to be able to go back and to rebuild this particular temple, to rebuild the temple of God. And so with that rebuilding of the temple, it had to start somewhere. And so when I was on my Peloton bike, the instructor, and I think it may have been Robin, she was telling everyone on the bike, just as an encouragement, it's like, if you're working out, or if you're trying to eat healthy, or if you're trying to follow a path of wellness for your life, don't despise those beginning steps, those small things. But then she took it even further and was just like, plant the seeds, water the seeds, nourish what you need to nourish, because eventually you're going to reap that harvest. And then all of that just kind of resonated within my spirit, because one of my favorite pieces of scripture is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. And it talks about a different season and time. And if you know anything or grew up with anyone around a garden or harvesting, things start out small with the seed. But as long as you nurture the seed, as long as you take care of the seed, as long as you give the seed the things that it needs to thrive, a healthy soil, water, nutrient-dense soil, light, the sun, as long as you give a seed those things, then it then will become the very plant that it is supposed to come. And so then you'll be able to see the full harvest of what you planted and what you have poured into and the things that you have done. And so when we look at this, and when you tie it back into Zerubbabel, he started the rebuilding of the temple from the smallest thing, with setting a stone and making sure that it was in alignment, and making sure that the plumb line from a vertical standpoint showed that it was in a perfect alignment. But in order for him to be able to rebuild the temple, he had to start somewhere. And it was a very small beginning. And so that's what I want to make sure that I'm encouraging you. Regardless of what you're doing and what your goal may be long term, you have to start somewhere. Don't despise those small beginnings. Do what you're supposed to do. Nurture that seed. Nurture that idea. Nurture that small beginning. If that means that you have to put more studying behind it, then do those things. Keep persevering towards the mark. That's like preacher speak. But keep persevering. keep putting one foot in front of the other. It's going to get hard. There will be things that are hard where you're going to want to stop and just throw in the towel. But I want you to be able to continue doing that. And so why and how am I even able to say that? Well, personally, it's because of where I'm at right now. I've been in business for myself for 7 years at this point. And there were times in the very beginning that I just wanted to stop. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if this is going to turn into anything. But I've had the opportunity to come and co-present with a friend of mine on a concept and a paper within a space that I hold very near and dear to my heart. And if I think about where I started and if I think about where I am right now, I never could have imagined that this would be where I would be with my business, let alone my life. But don't despise those small beginnings, because I began somewhere and this is not even my ending point. This is just a point on my journey. But when I look back on where I started and where I am, I've come such a long way. And so I want to just be able to encourage you to, again, do what you need to do. Don't despise the small beginnings when it comes to your dreams. If that means that you just have to have one client, have that one client. That one client would turn into 2, then 3, then 4. If that means that you want to go back to school, then go ahead and go back to school. Complete that one assignment. Then you'll be able to complete that course. Then you'll be able to complete that degree. Whatever it may be that you are looking at, that from a starting perspective, go ahead and do it. Because what you don't want to do is wish that you would have started 5 years ago when you could have actually started. What you don't want to do is wish that you could have started retroactively, because you would have been further than where you are right now. And hopefully that made sense. But I just want to make sure with this Wednesday word, just to encourage any and everyone, so that you guys will be able to understand that don't despise your small beginnings, because small beginnings turn into wonderful ideas, things that have been executed and implemented and become your wildest dreams. Thank you so much for joining me with this Wednesday word. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that it makes sense. It's 10 p.m. right here where I'm at, but hopefully, again, it was something that you'll be able to take to heart. And it comes from Zechariah chapter 4, verse 10. Bye-bye.